All right, let's dive into one of the most foundational stories ever told, the Book of Exodus. This isn't just ancient history, it's an absolutely epic tale of how a people went from brutal slavery to radical freedom, and how an entire nation was forged in the fire of the desert. Okay, so to get the picture, you have to remember that the Israelites have been living in Egypt for generations. They were guests, they were thriving. But then everything changes with this one chilling line. A new pharaoh takes over, and he looks at this large, growing population of foreigners not as an asset, but as a threat. And that single shift in perspective is what kicks off this whole story. We start with this terrible descent, watching how a prosperous community is systematically crushed and turned into a population of slaves. I mean, talk about a dramatic reversal. On the one hand, the Israelites were, as the text says, fruitful and increased abundantly. They were literally filling the land. But it's that very success that terrifies Pharaoh. And his solution? Brutal, forced labor. He decides to make their lives bitter with hard service. And if you thought that was bad, it gets so much worse. The oppression escalates from forced labor to straight-up genocide. Pharaoh orders that every single newborn Israelite boy be thrown into the Nile. This isn't just about control anymore. It's about wiping them out completely. And it's right here, at this moment of absolute desperation, that the stage is set for a hero to emerge. So, out of this total darkness, a leader is chosen. But here's the twist. The person who will save the Hebrew people comes from the most unlikely place you could possibly imagine, the palace of the man trying to destroy them. And that leader, of course, is Moses. His life story is a complete whirlwind. Get this, he's born under a death sentence, but he's hidden in a basket and found by none other than Pharaoh's daughter. He grows up as a prince of Egypt, living a life of luxury. But after he kills an Egyptian guard for beating a Hebrew slave, he has to run for his life, trading his royal life for that of a fugitive shepherd in the desert. It's out there, in the middle of nowhere, that Moses has this unbelievable encounter. He sees a bush that's on fire, but somehow isn't burning up. And from that burning bush, God gives him a mission that sounds absolutely impossible. Go back to Egypt and demand that Pharaoh free his people. When a stunned Moses asks who he should say sent him, he gets this incredible, mysterious answer. I am who I am. So with a shepherd's staff in his hand and this divine command ringing in his ears, the reluctant fugitive heads back to Egypt to confront the most powerful man in the world. Moses and his brother Aaron walk right into the court of Pharaoh and deliver the message. It is a direct challenge to a ruler who saw himself as a god. And Pharaoh's response is just pure arrogance. He basically says, "Who is Yahweh? Why should I listen to him? I'm not letting Israel go." And that refusal, well, it kicks off a showdown for the ages. What comes next isn't just a series of random disasters. It's a very specific, repeating cycle. A plague hits Egypt. Pharaoh, in a panic, promises to let the Israelites go. The plague stops. And then, as soon as the pressure is off, Pharaoh's heart hardens, and he goes back on his word. This happens again and again and again. And these plagues get more and more intense. We're talking about the Nile River, the very lifeblood of Egypt, turning into blood. Swarms of frogs, gnats, and flies. Devastating disease on the livestock, painful boils on the people. A terrifying storm of hail and fire, followed by locusts that eat everything left. And then, a supernatural darkness so thick you could literally feel it. Each plague is like a direct assault on the power of Egypt and its gods, and it all leads up to one final, devastating blow. This whole confrontation is about to reach its climax. A 10th and final plague is coming. One so terrible, it will finally break Egypt's will and secure the freedom of the Israelite people. And this is where the tradition of Passover begins. The Israelites are told to mark their doors with the blood of a lamb. That night, a terrible plague strikes the firstborn of every Egyptian family. But the homes marked with blood are passed over. This singular event becomes the defining moment of their escape, a memorial they're told to observe for all time. After that night of tragedy, a grieving, broken Pharaoh finally surrenders. In the middle of the night, he tells them to go. He doesn't just allow them to leave, he orders them out. The Egyptians are literally begging them to leave, afraid that if they stay one more minute, everyone will be dead. But just when you think it's over, it's not. Pharaoh changes his mind one last time. He rallies his entire army, his chariots, and chases the Israelites down, trapping them against the Red Sea. It looks like it's all over. And then, the ultimate miracle. The sea parts. The Israelites walk across on dry ground, and when the Egyptian army follows, the walls of water come crashing down on top of them. So they are finally, truly free. But now they face a completely different kind of challenge. They've escaped their masters, but how does a giant mob of former slaves, stranded in a desert, become a real nation? I mean, really think about that question. You've got this huge, disorganized crowd of people who have only ever known oppression. How do you give them an identity? The answer isn't going to come from a king or a political system. It's going to come from a divine agreement, a covenant, at the base of a smoking mountain. At the foot of Mount Sinai, God offers them a deal. If they follow his ways, they will be his people. And in this incredible moment, the entire nation answers with a single voice. All that Yahweh has spoken, we will do. This is the instant that a crowd of refugees officially becomes a nation, bound together not by geography, but by a shared promise. Moses then goes up the mountain and comes back with the foundation for this new society, etched onto stone tablets, the 10 Commandments. It's the core legal and moral code for everything. Part of it is about their relationship with God, no other gods, keep the Sabbath holy, and the other part is about their relationships with each other. Don't murder, don't steal, don't lie. It's the bedrock. And here's something you might not expect. The book doesn't end with them marching into a new land. It ends with dozens of chapters of highly detailed instructions for building something called the Tabernacle, basically a portable sanctuary. And this is so crucial because it shows that God isn't going to be some distant figure on a mountain. He's going to be right there, in a tent, in the very center of their camp, traveling with them. And that's what this whole epic journey leaves us with. It suggests that liberation isn't just one moment, a parted sea or a broken chain. True, lasting freedom isn't just about what you're running from. It's about what you're building toward. It's the hard, messy work of creating a whole new way of life, held together by shared laws and a common purpose.